Evening folks, Stuart and I have got together after the furore of Joan McAlpine's article yesterday in the Record. Apparently the Twittersphere and blogosphere have gone absolutely crazy with it. Stuart, being a great tweet man, has picked up a few things that might interest you.
Well, it all started, the day before yesterday when the Daily Record trailed the fact that they had Joan McAlpine signed up and her first column would be in yesterday's paper. It certainly hadn't appeared by 7 or 8 in the morning on the internet, the digital edition, but it was possible to follow through from the menus to the fact that under the columnists there was now an added one, was Joan McAlpine. But it was just a placeholder, there was nothing there yet. And I kept that page open throughout the morning while I was busy online. And so that when the article that has caused all the problems first appeared, I read it quite quickly. I thought, oh, that's interesting, and got on with things. I had no idea it was going to be such a big story. The first one that commented of my people I follow was Angus MacLeod, the Times
well-respected journalist. I was quite surprised at his comment.
But he is a dyed-in-the-wool unionist. He's careful what he says when he's on the BBC, but on his Twitter line he exposes himself. Anyway, he straight away got stuck in and said it was he was surprised or something. That anyway, he was he wasn't very keen on it. He thought, this is a terrible article. So I went straight back and read it again to see what on earth did he see in this article that I didn't. So I read it again, had a quick look, and then I posted in reply to him that basically, as an Anglo, which I am, I love England, I've getting retired there, and I said also that with a growing English family, I cannot see anything wrong from anybody from the left point of view from what she said, nothing at all. And then I didn't get much reaction to mine, but my tweet, but it rolled into some kind of lumbering monster very quickly. Then what came as a bit of a surprise, there were 2 or 3 regular pro-SNP tweeters who also joined, who were also a little upset. One was is it Natalie McGarry? I think she's an SNP member, something to do with the youth end of the SNP. Kate Higgins, Bird's Eye View, she's not I don't think she's an SNP member, but pro-Indy. They were both shocked. And I was quite taken aback by that. I thought, oh, what am I not seeing? And I still don't yet see what I'm not seeing. Perhaps it was the fact that Joan McAlpine was using the abused woman metaphor in a relationship.
But that became what it was about, but she actually never said that. I think she referred to an abusive relationship, but she never...
Yes,
she simply, all she was saying was Scotland to England was like the wife with money whose husband controlled the purse strings.
Yes. And plus also, it was, as someone else said, it's a bit... what's it here? For the Record. Who's this? That'll be Mike Small, Bella Caledonia. An unremarkable commentary on the relationship between Scotland and England within the British state, and a joke about the dependency culture that is the usual caricature of Scotland from down south.
Which nobody else seemed to have picked up on. Mike seems to be the only guy that got that.
And it repeats the point made in the SNP manifesto. Why would you give your wages to your next door neighbour then ask for them to give a portion of it back each month? Except Joan McAlpine made it her husband.
Yeah.
And we're forever getting told by the pro-unionists that gaining independence is separation, it's a divorce. And they use the metaphor all the time.
So, I mean, is it reasonable for us to accuse all these complainants of being misogynists of some sort? You know,
I'm not gonna,
don't criticise the system because it suits us.
I'm not going down that road. I'll stick to where I stand, and I stood on my very first reaction to Angus MacLeod taking offence. It seemed to be, I don't know whether it's a new fashion. It's particularly obvious in the Old Firm. When you look at the Old Firm relationship, I think Alex Salmond, the week before last, in reference to the Rangers' financial problems, said something about all these. He was asked to make a comment, made some comment about all the jobs and all the rest of it. Hundreds of Celtic fans took offence at that.
Yeah.
The Rangers and Celtic fans take offence very easily at anything because they don't like it. And this whole unionist, independentist debate, there's an awful lot of people out there ready to take offence deliberately. I mean, anybody can take offence. Look at this, you know, like Muslims and the Quran and cartoons.
I mean, I can understand. I mean, the Labour nose is going to be out of joint. They've got one of the two red tops in Scotland. The records basically giving voice to an independent.
But it's been their Bible.
But they're also headlining it as the independent woman. Okay, a play on words, but you know, I mean, the Labour Party isn't.
Well, the strapline for Joan McAlpine,
yeah,
the independent woman in Scotland.
The Labour Party is not exactly famous for, although you know, I mean, they've got a woman in charge now, and Archie better watch out next time he goes for a pint, according to her speech.
Oh, is this her husband?
Yes. But you know, it smacks to me of how dare the wee lassie have an opinion.
She's no wee lassie. You've got to bear in mind the people that are complaining are largely arch unionists and Labour Party almost to a T. I didn't see quite the Lib Dems and the Tories piling in quite so quickly. Bear in mind, she was the editor of the Sunday Times Écosse, if you can remember that, which was like...
Well, and I mean, she's a professional journalist, which surprised me even more when I saw the comments that were around the way she built the article about her professionalism as opposed to the content and the example she chose to write her ideas on. I just feel, you know, the cybernats have been getting slacked by various members, usually of the Labour Party, and yet here we have an SNP from the SNP.
She is also
suffering the same thing.
She's also a close aide to Alex Salmond, and he's very careful what he says. She is a kind of, whatever she said, she was going to be a target yesterday.
But has she achieved what she set out to achieve? Was the article really just the blue touch paper?
I think she has. I don't think there's going to be an apology from her, from the SNP or the Daily Record.
There's nothing to apologise for.
Well, I agree. Wings Over Scotland, quite a popular pro-independence blog. He says Joan McAlpine MSP is rapidly proving herself a subtle master of the form of polemic. Now, polemic is a word you would normally use in academic circles, or if you see someone with a very strong point of view, an article in a broadsheet, a heavyweight newspaper. It's not a word bandied around very much outside serious political circles. To some extent, what he's in his response, it says here, "Attention, stupid people," is what he's called his article. What he's kind of saying is that where we talk about trolls, people who say something in a comment just for a reaction, so that everybody else will, and so I'm offended. He uses the term polemicist, so which is quite interesting.
So his basic view on it is that she knew exactly what she was doing.
I'm pretty sure she knew exactly what she was doing.
It seems to have worked.
Certainly got people talking about the issue.
Anything from the English bloggers?
Well, of course, Guido Fawkes, famous right-wing blog. He didn't say much himself. He clipped the bit from the record. It's got the picture of Joan McAlpine, MSP, Scotland's independent woman. He says she's a former editor of the Sunday Times turned MSP. He says she had a new column. The analogy used in her first outing has upset a lot of people, and then he quotes from it, which I won't bother. The last line of the quote is, this is what Joan McAlpine wrote: "Scotland is as capable of running her own finances as England, just as women are as capable as men. In fact, we could do a lot better." And now all that Guido himself says is, given that the Nats lost an MSP this weekend after his track record of wife-beating emerged, don't think we'll go there at the moment, this is strong stuff from Scotland's independent woman. What did she have to do to earn such a grand title? That's all he said. There's 281 comments on that article by Guido Fawkes, and I've got to quote one. Be prepared for a little bit of... this is fairly typical of what happens on his blog. Somebody commented below on Guido Fawkes, "Funny that the jock mongs didn't seem to want independence until North Sea oil came along. Personally, I'd get rid of them, mind the border, put up searchlights and keep the fuckers out." Well, that's just typical of the kind of stuff that's every day on Guido Fawkes' blog. And yet, a little analogy about an abusive relationship. Here's another point that I made yesterday. The union between England and Scotland, let's keep it simple, is a relationship between a nation of 5 million with a nation of 50 million. In other words, there are 10 times as many people in England as in Scotland. Now, anywhere else, it would be normal to have some kind of institutional system set up with checks and balances so that the bigger state didn't overwhelm the smaller state.
Yeah.
For example, in the United States, if Texas is, say, the biggest state, or California, they've got an awful lot more congressmen in the lower house. But in the Senate, no matter whether you're a tiny state like Rhode Island or a big state like Texas, you only get 2 senators.
Yeah.
And that's your checks and balances. There is nothing like that in the British Constitution. Scotland has always been, to some extent, in an abusive relationship with England, simply because England is 10 times bigger.
I like the dependent relationship phrase. I think that fits in. And a forced dependency. I mean, today the Scotsman released the 30-year-old secret document that the Cabinet had suppressed.
Oh, the Macron report.
The Macron report.
Well, it actually came out. It was released in 2005 or 6.
It's been out a while.
And it's been republished and republished, but the mainstream media have tended to avoid it up to now.
The Scotsman had it online today.
Wow.
With a summary, not with the complete.
It more or less, it was an article. It was a report which, quite for the British government, which said Scotland could quite easily financially go independent. And this was before the previous referendum in 1979. And the interesting thing is, it was classified.
So, getting back to Kate, are we going to see more of this from her? Is this going to be...
You mean Joan?
Sorry, Joan, the modus operandi?
I would imagine, yes, I would imagine that we're going to see a lot of this. The interesting, one or two, what they call backstory points from this is that I gather somewhere that there was a rumour that Joan McAlpine's appointment as a columnist on the Daily Record, a Glasgow paper, was from the London head office of Trinity Mirror, the owners, and that they were not the senior journalists at the Record in Glasgow were not happy about her being imposed. She was kind of parachuted in.
A money grab? Are they looking to simply to sell more papers, or are they actually interested in the debate?
Apparently, the newspapers, the accepted position of newspapers is they actually like to follow where public opinion is. They like to lead it a bit, but generally speaking, they don't go too far out on the line. So if the Record has, or Trinity Mirror have decided to make sure that they want Joan McAlpine on board, I don't know why. But it'd be interesting to be looking.
It'll be interesting if this is the kind of move towards giving the independent camp more of a voice. What happens down the line is Mr. Murdoch. I mean, I've been following the sort of 3 column inches that the Sun's been giving in support of Indy, but the Sun and the Record.
Well, obviously that's going to terrify the Labour Party in particular in Scotland.
Even if they're neutral.
Yes, the Sun and the Record, even if they end up neutral on independence, that's not a normal situation. That's going to terrify the Unionists. There's also if we talk about Murdoch, what on earth did Salmond talk to Murdoch about at Bute House last week? After all, it's upset an awful lot of
jobs.
Independistas.
You think
it's jobs?
I think there's a job package down the line.
There was a certain. It was, there's supposedly 6,000 Sky jobs in Scotland, although he has a 39%. Well, News International has a 39% stake in Sky. That's a huge stake. The question is, did he say to Salmond, right, we'll bring more Sky jobs to Scotland? We'll bring the HQ of Sky to Scotland.
Murdoch's out for Murdoch, so this is a stick to beat Westminster with, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
He'll go as far as he needs to till he gets what he wants, and then he'll move on.
I think we might have to republish that tightrope cartoon you did last week. Now, what about this idea? What if there is a Sky Island, is there not? TV channel. What if Murdoch said to Salmond last week, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, I'll start up Sky Scotland with a studio in Glasgow. And of course we know the subplot will be Murdoch could use that to beat Westminster with. No, I'm the only. That's come out of the back of my head. I've not read that or seen that anywhere. So perhaps we might see some results on that. I think I'm running out of things to say on this without getting
boring. Suffice to say, thank you, those of you that have bothered to watch. And we'll be back on air tomorrow, live on Facebook, about 12:30 for a discussion about tomorrow's First Minister's questions.
The review show.
The review show.
We might even manage a preview beforehand, but we'll see.
We'll see what's being said. Once again, thank you for your attention.